Good morning, Central Kentucky. This is Sandra Leslie White coming to you live from WJMM 99.1 FM, life-changing radio, just outside of Lexington. Shouting out to all of you around the country through WJMM.com and also Facebook Live this morning. Good morning. And so, are you a fault finder? Are you one of those who just finds fault with everything and everybody? I want you to think about that today as we go through the message on Hosea 4. And I wonder, too, are there good fault finders or are there bad fault finders, or is there something in between? What about fault finding? And what do we learn about Yahweh and about his priests when it comes to fault finding in the latter part of the 8th century BC when Hosea penned this message all the way to today? So, let's get into this. And you know what? For those of you on Facebook are going to see me in my sunglasses. Thank goodness most of you are listening in and not watching in, because I have forgotten my reading glasses, and my producer Brad did not have any reading glasses for me this morning. So I am in my sunglasses and on my lights and jumping into today's message, Hosea 4. We're going to read this morning 1 all the way to 5. And the title of the message is Fault Finders. Let's jump into the New American Standard Version this morning. Hosea 4, 1 to 5. Listen to the word of the Lord, O sons of Israel. For the Lord has a case against the inhabitants of the land. Because there is no faithfulness or kindness or knowledge of God in the land, there is swearing, deception, murder, stealing, adultery. They employ violence so that bloodshed follows bloodshed. Therefore the land mourns, and everyone who lives in it languishes, along with the beasts of the field and the birds of the sky, and also the fish of the sea disappear. Yet let no one find fault, and let none offer reproof. For your people are like those who contend with the priest. So you will stumble by day, and the prophet also will stumble with you by night, and I will destroy your mother. Okay, this isn't too pleasant of a prophecy at this point, but what do we have to learn about finding fault? Let's just go there. This message today, if you're just tuning in, is finding fault or fault finders out of Hosea 4. So this is a little bit complicated in terms of what is Hosea saying? What is he penning here? You know, when he opens it up, he says, listen to the word of the Lord. So we're going to assume this is Hosea speaking. And you can also assume that God is intertwined with Hosea's voice, which happens throughout Hosea. And yet I do believe as I go into this, we see both voices represented. And this was something I discovered in my research of Hosea and working with Caleb Gilmore from the Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati, that Hosea often goes in and out of the voice of his own and the voice of Yahweh. So let's look at this. So I really think it's important for us to understand through this first 5 verses of Hosea 4 that God is primarily concerned for his people. I mean, if we really want to boil it all down to it, his love is so powerful, but his love is tough, and he's concerned for his people. And so he gets very explicit here with his concern, starting out with a case. For one, he has a case against the inhabitants of the land because there's what? No faithfulness, and there's no kindness, and there's no knowledge of God in the land. So we know that this was the foundational reasons for the case against not only the inhabitants, but the land itself. And he went on to say very, very clearly there's swearing, deception, murder, stealing, adultery, violence. Bloodshed follows bloodshed. Therefore the land mourns, and everyone who lives in it languishes. We talked about that at length this week. We talked about it yesterday in terms of the land mourning in the land. And so we're looking upon this landscape of Israel in the latter part of the 8th century BC, not only the northern kingdom, but the southern kingdom. All of the inhabitants are being addressed here in chapter 4, not just the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom, but also the 2 tribes of the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah, which is Judah and Benjamin. So he's addressing all his people, and I think he's addressing all his people today. I do look at the scriptures, all of them, from Genesis to Revelation, as being profitable for us, good for reproof, good for learning how to live well. And this is what Yahweh is all about here. So he goes on to say, this is what's happening in the land. Even the people have just gone astray, and there's so many bad things happening. And then even the beasts of the field and the birds of the sky and the fish of the sea are affected. And I talked yesterday, and I got a lot of good comments about that, about, whatever political side you land on. If you just looked at Hosea 1-4, you would realize that, if you're extremely liberal and you're worried about the earth, and I'm not saying that conservatives are not, I'm just saying if you're a Green New Deal person, this would appeal to you. If you're really concerned about morality in the land, you're extremely conservative, this would appeal to you. So I think that we find ourselves, all of us, all population, all peoples being addressed here. And yet, he says in verse 4, he says, yet let no one find fault, and let none offer reproof. So, is he telling us, taking us off the hook? Just don't find fault in anybody, just let everybody do what everybody wants to do. Just, if it's good for you, it's good for me, I'll live my life, you live your life. Let no one offer reproof. Okay, so in other words, don't find fault. Don't offer reproof. For your people are like those who contend with the priest. Okay? Your people. Oh, why is he saying my people there? So your people, is it Yahweh saying to Hosea, your people in the kingdom of Israel, in the kingdom of Judah, are like those who contend with the priest. In other words, they argue with the priest. So you will stumble by day, and the prophet also will stumble with you by night, and I will destroy your mother. That's something I don't really want to get into, but we will, in terms of that being Gomer. He's talked about Gomer in previous chapters about being your mother. Contend with your mother. Contend. She's a adulteress. She's going back to prostitute. Contend with her, bringing the children to this point of saying, we got to confront mom. We got to intervene here. But he's saying in these 2 verses here, 4 and 5, to not let anyone find fault or offer reproof, because your people are like those who contend with the priest, and you'll stumble. Regardless of what the priest says, you're still going to do what you want to do. And then the prophet, will stumble with you by night. All right, let's talk about that. Let's just talk about that. I think today in our culture, I think one of the biggest issues that we have with the secular world, or with people who are believers and just not going to church anymore, is that there is this hypocrisy that is rampant throughout the leadership of the church. And I just want to kind of shout out to Brian and Tammy Clausen this morning, pastors at Lex City Church. He's the lead pastor, and she is his wife. And they are such beautiful examples of leadership there at Lex City Church. So I'm delighted to know them, getting to know them, and shouting out to them this morning. I'm not talking about you. I am indicting, as he is, the fact that the people are contending with the priest. The people are not even in agreement with what the priest is saying at this point anyway in Hosea. But the prophets are stumbling. There's such an uprise of, I guess, just waywardness. The leaving the words of Yahweh, leaving the love of Yahweh, going out on our own. I was walking last night on the farm. It was such a beautiful evening. It really was. And the sunset was gorgeous. My dogs and I were trying to avoid the heat. We went out at the very last few minutes of daylight. And I was thinking about this. What if God's love infused the planet? I mean, if he just decided that, forget relationship with these people, they just don't get it. What if he just exercised his complete power and authority and just poured out love all over the earth? I mean, like we couldn't help but receive it, right? It just poured out upon us. And think about how the world would be. I mean, but he doesn't want that. He wants relationship. He gives us free will. He really loves this dynamic friendship, fellowship, fault finding, with us. I mean, he enjoys relationship, don't you? I mean, you don't want to be with somebody that just agrees with you like all the time and just is like a puppet and just, maybe even mouth service. They just kind of go like, yeah, and then they do whatever they want. I mean, nobody wants to be with someone like that. We want dynamic relationship. We want passion. And I think passion is extremely important to Yahweh here. And so he dresses his people with passion back. He just throws it back and says, don't find fault. Don't let anybody find fault. Let everybody just do whatever they want. See how that goes for them. I don't know about you, but I'm a parent, and I would not let my children just do whatever they want. I do find fault. I do, and I have reproved my children. I'm starting to get that returned to me as an adult, since they're adults. But I've trained them up, and I have given them the foundation to make good decisions in life. And so these things that Yahweh has contending with his people, this faithlessness, this lack of kindness, this no knowledge of the land, this swearing and murdering and bloodshed and, all of this lying, all this stuff that he is saying about his people. This is Israel. This isn't the secular world. This is his people. These are his people. I think he just sort of acted as if he disowned them there for a minute, but he goes back and forth with that too. But the fact is that if we do not offer fault finding and reproof in love in the scriptures, just as he does with us, then we're just going to be an absolutely out of control society. Well, are we already? I mean, this is a chaotic culture. I don't know about you, but I just want to, disappear sometimes. I just, maybe permanently, live in the country, watch vegetables grow. The culture is chaos. And so I think it is important to understand that as a fault finder, we've got to look at this and this attitude of reproof as a way and means of love, of doing this in love and doing this out of an overwhelming presence of love in our lives. And that we live a life of love that is powerful, not sweet and sentimental and, romanticized. Oh, that's good. And it's, it's not a bad thing. But it's powerful. And it causes us to live a life that is good. Not only good for us, but gives God the glory. So let's weigh all this in terms of our own fault finding and find it rooted and grounded in love. God bless you today. We'll see you again tomorrow.